Welcome to The Planted and the Poured, a space for real conversations about life as it is while we're becoming who we were created to be. Can I ask you a question? What's the thing you keep saying you'll do later? You know the thing. That task you've been meaning to check off your to-do list. It probably wouldn't even take that long, but for some reason, you keep putting it off. For me, apparently, that thing is red light therapy. I bought this handheld device about a year and a half ago that promised me that my face would look snatched, and I went to use it the other day for the first time in a few weeks, and I had this moment of, I can do so many hard things. There is no excuse. Why can't I use this thing consistently? If you give me a big goal and a deadline, I'm great at getting it done. But apparently, give me a handheld red light device that I have to rinse off after using, and suddenly my discipline crumbles. And the more I thought about it, the more I realized that this isn't just about red light therapy. I have a whole category of things in my life that I am perfectly capable of doing, but I keep telling myself I'll do it later. Putting clothes away is another big one for me that drives my husband nuts. And so I started wondering why. Because I don't think I'm actually lazy or not disciplined, because there are plenty of things that I'm incredibly consistent with. So why are some things so easy for me to maintain while other small mundane things can feel almost impossible to start? Years ago, I watched a really good TED Talk by Tim Urban called Inside the Mind of the Master Procrastinator. And he goes through this funny story about how he procrastinated on his thesis. And he uses this metaphor for what happens in the brain of someone who procrastinates. He talks about the rational decision maker that can accomplish tasks and who often gets distracted by the instant gratification monkey who wants to do things that are easy and fun. And the only thing that can scare the instant gratification monkey off is the panic monster, which comes in when a deadline is approaching and allows the monkey to run away and the rational decision maker to get things accomplished. And while I don't identify as a capital P procrastinator in that sense, one of the things that stuck with me about this TED Talk was the idea that procrastination isn't really about being disciplined or undisciplined, because even people who are really good at meeting deadlines can have things in their lives that they put off. And I thought to myself, in a way, I can relate to that because I do have goals in my life that I haven't gotten started on yet. But there are plenty of things in my life that I don't procrastinate on. I work out consistently. I've maintained a pretty healthy way of eating for years, and nobody is making me do those things. There's no boss checking to see if I worked out 5 times this week, and nobody's giving me a grade for how much I sweat. So I started wondering if the question isn't really, am I disciplined? And maybe a better question is, what makes some things worth the effort for me while other things aren't? And I think part of the answer is that I'm really motivated by progress. I like knowing that I'm getting better at something. I like having a goal and being able to look back and see that something changed. If I run a mile faster than I did last month, I notice it. If I get stronger, I notice it. But there are so many things in adult life that don't really work that way. You don't really get better at putting your laundry away. You just put it away. And you never truly finish taking care of the house. You just keep taking care of it. And I think that's why, for me, maintenance is harder than achievement, because achievement has a finish line and maintenance doesn't. There's this really good Instagram account. The handle is Julia L. Hunt, and her tagline is, "Every mess is a choice." So her videos will be a split screen, and on one side, it'll show you that it takes about 5 seconds to make a mess, whether that's throwing something down, not putting it away in its proper spot, just the easier choice. And then on the other side of the screen, it'll show her cleaning up the mess or putting the thing away, whatever it is, and it shows you that it takes maybe about a minute. And as I'm scrolling Instagram instead of getting things accomplished, it made me realize that I've spent more time thinking about how much I don't want to do the thing than it actually would have taken me to do it. And that's the part that gets me, because a lot of the times I don't avoid things because they're hard. It's just starting feels really hard. And the payoff isn't immediate enough to motivate me to actually do it. I don't feel that rush of accomplishment when the clothes get put away. But somehow, that pile of clothes sitting there can create this feeling of friction every time I walk past it. Sometimes when I really want to be motivated, I dump the clean clothes from the laundry basket onto my bed to make me more inclined to fold them and put them away. I have to wonder, why am I making this so much harder than it needs to be? And I think we all have our version of the red light device or the clothes that need to be folded. Maybe for you, it's not a chore. Maybe it's the doctor's appointment that you've been putting off making, or calling your mom, or opening a savings account, or cleaning out the closet, or responding to the text, or starting the thing that you've been talking about for years. Sometimes procrastination isn't about the task being difficult, it's just that the task is something that's easy to keep putting off. And this is where it gets a little bit more interesting than laundry, because the things we put off can eventually become our relationships, our health, our finances, things we actually care about. And those are the things that don't come with deadlines. Nobody emails you and says, "Hey, just checking in. Have you made time for your friends lately?" Nobody puts a due date on taking care of your marriage. Nobody sends you a calendar reminder saying, "Today is the day that you should finally do that thing that you've been talking about doing." Before I went back to school, I had looked into a program that I was really interested in. And at the time, I was trying to figure out how to make it work financially because my school district has this program where they will pay for 2 classes per school year. So in order to have my school district help me pay for it, the timeline would have been 8 years to get this degree. And so I put it on the back burner. And then I was talking to someone about it, and he said to me, "Yes, but in 8 years, you're going to look back and say, I could have a doctorate by now." And that very day, I decided to go for it. And I ended up getting a scholarship. And instead of taking 8 years, I finished in 3. And I think about that because even 3 years sounded like a long time when I was standing at the beginning of it. But 3 years passed so quickly. And I think we forget that sometimes. We look at something that we're putting off and we think that's going to take forever. But time is going to pass whether we start it or not. Now, I'm not saying that putting away your laundry is the same as getting a degree. But I do think there's something to the idea that small steps add up. And if anything, it makes me feel even guiltier about not starting the laundry. I've been thinking about this more as I'm about to head into another school year, because the beginning of a school year always makes me reflect a little bit about what I want to do differently. I don't want a giant list of resolutions, but I try to think about things that will make my life feel just a little bit better, because a school year brings stress with it. So this year, I am giving myself a 2-minute challenge. If there is something that I've been putting off because I don't want to do it, I am going to just do it for 2 minutes. I'm going to fold the clothes for 2 minutes. I'm going to clean up for 2 minutes, because I've realized that the problem isn't usually that I don't have enough time. It's just so freaking hard to get started. And once I start, I will usually end up doing more than 2 minutes anyway. So I still don't know if I'm a lazy overachiever, but I do know that I spend way too much time thinking about some things that would take me less time to actually just get it over with. And who we're created to be isn't always about accomplishing something really big. Sometimes it's about paying attention to the little things that we repeatedly do or repeatedly postpone, because eventually those little things become our lives. So I guess I'm going to end this podcast and I'm going to go use my freaking red light therapy so my skin can get snatched. And then I'm going to fold some clothes so that I feel a little bit better about myself. Thank you so much for listening to me process this in real time. And if I said something that maybe you can relate to, subscribe to the podcast and send it to a friend. This is a conversation that we're creating together. And if there's something that you'd love to share or talk about, you can fill out the Google form using the link in the show notes. I hope this met you right where you're at today, and I'm truly honored to be with you as we become the people we were created to be. Until next time.